Okay, let's jump right into this. I've got a bit of a confession to make. Even as someone who speaks Japanese natively, there's this one word I literally use every single day. I mean, in almost every social interaction. And yet, if you put me on the spot and asked me to define it, I'd really struggle. It's a word that practically breathes for us in Japan, but its true meaning is actually surprisingly elusive. To give you an idea of what I mean, just picture a bustling Tokyo restaurant. It's totally packed, you really need the waiter, so you raise your hand and just naturally call out, Sumimasen. It slips out so effortlessly, it's, the ultimate attention grabber. But if we stop and actually think about it for a second, what does this word actually mean? Because honestly, it's a total linguistic shapeshifter. In one breath, we're using it to flag down a waiter. But then in the next, we use it to apologize because we bumped into someone's shoulder on a crowded train. And then we'll turn right around and use the exact same word to thank a total stranger for holding the elevator door. It's like it just magically changes its meaning based entirely on the situation. Now, if you look at how this is usually taught in standard language textbooks, they'll neatly sort this word into three very distinct English boxes. You've got excuse me for getting attention, sorry for apologizing, and thank you for showing gratitude. And sure, that's a really logical, clean way to organize it if you're just learning. But I have to be totally honest with you here. As a native speaker, this textbook translation method has always felt, subtly wrong. Looking at it strictly through an English lens kind of misses something vital happening just beneath the surface. And that brings us to a really interesting realization. I want to be upfront about this. These aren't just three random disconnected meanings. Once you sit with it for a moment and just kind of step away from the textbooks, you realize that all of these uses actually stem from one single unified feeling hiding underneath. It's really not just a convenient utility word. It is one profound emotion being applied to all these different human interactions.
Let me paint a picture to illustrate this. Say you're lost on the street and you stop to ask a stranger for directions. You say, Sumimasen? Is the station this way? Now the textbook tells you this simply means excuse me. But underneath that, there's this quiet, hidden apology flowing right through the interaction. It's the subtle guilt of interrupting a stranger's busy day just to ask for help. It's an empathetic recognition that, hey, you are pausing their life for your own needs.
Or let's look at another really fascinating contradiction. Imagine you drop your newspaper and someone kindly hands it back to you. The natural Japanese response is, Sumimasen, arigatou gozaimasu. You are clearly ending with a thank you, right? Yet the phrase actually starts with sumimasen. Why on earth would we apologize when we're thanking someone? Well, again, it's a quiet apology for consuming their precious time. It's basically saying, I'm sorry for making you take time for me, thank you. That sense of apology is literally the root of the gratitude. So the crucial turning point to understanding this is right in the word's etymology. The origin of sumimasen is the word sumanai, which literally translates to be unresolved, or my feelings can't settle. It perfectly captures that feeling of an unpaid debt or an unsettled heart. You used someone's time, you made them go out of their way. That emotional debt hasn't been settled yet, and this word just openly acknowledges that fact. Now, people often look at this culture from the outside and say, wow, Japanese people apologize way too much. Some even view it as this kind of cultural submissiveness or just an automatic reflex of unnecessary guilt. But we really need to reframe that entirely. When you look at that root feeling we just talked about, it's not about being submissive at all. Actually, it is a profound, incredibly beautiful expression of respect. It's our way of saying, your time is precious and I see and recognize the effort you just made for me. And this root feeling completely transforms everyday conversation, especially when we look at how we respond to gratitude. In English, you say thank you, and the response is you're welcome, which is this very open, equal acceptance of the gratitude. But in Japanese, when someone says sumimasen to thank you, the response is DoItashimashite. This literally traces back to meaning something like, what would you have me do about it? Or please don't worry. So instead of just accepting the gratitude, you are actively pushing back to dissolve the other person's guilt. You're trying to remove their sense of apology. The whole structure of communication shifts because the starting emotion is entirely different. And you know what? It turns out this isn't just some quirky Japanese trait that's totally isolated from the rest of the world. Take a look at this. In Taiwan, they use the phrase BuHaoYiSi for calling attention, thanking, and apologizing, and it's all rooted in a very similar shared feeling of awkwardness about being an imposition. It's incredibly structurally similar. And even in English, think about a dramatic movie scene where a character hears about a friend's tragedy and says, I'm sorry. The first time I saw that, I honestly thought, wait, you didn't do anything wrong. But sorry in English also stretches to carry this complex, shared human empathy.
Languages all over the world naturally bend and stretch their words to carry these multi-layered empathetic emotions.
Which really brings us to this final thought. The impulse to carry consideration for others in our words is completely universal, even if the cultural mechanics look a little different on the surface. The Sumimasen paradox isn't a bug in the Japanese language. It's a feature. It is an apology that is simultaneously an expression of respect. It simply acknowledges that human connection always involves a slight borrowing of someone else's time and energy, and honestly, it honors that exchange beautifully.
あなたの体験をぜひ聞かせてください。コメント欄に書き込んでね。